skepticism, breaking it down. He's got the answers that are waiting to be found. We mix it all up in a quantum machine, the craziest duo that you've ever seen. Oh, it's the skeptic and the disciple. Yeah, we keep it moving, yeah, we keep it vital. Faith and logic and funny business. Welcome to the show.
Welcome back to the Skeptic and the Disciple. I'm Mike Lippman, the Quantum Disciple, and this is my partner in crime, Megan.
Hey everyone, partner in crime.
How was your weekend? It looks like you got a little sun.
Yes, it was really good. We had the kids and we played outside a lot, and Nick surprised us and took us to this place in Appleton that has like it's like a Dave and Buster's kind of thing, where it
Okay.
has like arcade games and it has like a bounce house thing, and then we did mini
The
golf.
modern day Chuck E. Cheese. The modern day Chuck E. Cheese.
But we did mini golf because I've been asking forever to do something fun. Like I wanted a mini golf. I can't bounce in the bounce house.
Yeah.
So I wanted a mini golf.
You could try.
So we did mini golf, and I figured out that I am much better at real mini golf than I am at the video game mini golf.
Well, that doesn't surprise me at all.
So.
And the reality of even that statement is I bet you are mediocre at best at real mini golf, but I bet you are embarrassingly bad at video game mini golf.
However, I was the only person. I got a hole in one. And even the lady, there was an older lady with her grandchild behind me. The second I knocked that in, she started screaming. And so I started screaming. I was like, what? I've never gotten a hole in one before.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with skill and everything to do with luck. You probably didn't even hit the ball in the direction you were trying to hit it.
Fun fact, when I lived with my aunt back in the day, her husband was a trainer for golf. He was a professional golf trainer, and he had a shed in the backyard, and this shed was like built with the nets and everything, so you could do like the long drive hitting in it.
Yeah.
And so I would go play out there all the time and try and hit it. And so I know how to hold the club correctly. That much he taught me how to hold it and stand and aim. So I can do that. Whether or not it goes where I want it to go, at least I didn't get it in the water this time. But I have a little bit of training. Now, real golf, trying to hit the ball anywhere.
That even breaks now, not even nowadays, for a long time, because the way that you hold a normal golf club, like a driver, a 7-iron, something like that, that grip really has not changed very much, minus like a little bit different, like angle on the grip. There's things called strong grips versus weak grips, but really the way you hold the grip is that, or, either overlap or interlock. Some people do baseball, but not very many.
It was like with the two fingers is how he had it.
Yeah, this is that overlapping grip right here. That's probably the most common.
Oh.
Or like Tiger Woods did an interlocking grip where he interlocked the middle fingers. I'm left-handed, so that's why I'm probably upside down to some people.
Then maybe I'm doing it wrong.
You probably are, but regardless, that's for a normal golf grip. But for putting, people have all sorts of weird ways of holding there's like pencil grips where you hold it with one hand and then you're actually just holding it with like your index finger below and kind of moving like that. There's people who for a long time, they use long putters. So the putters actually change where they would anchor it on their chest. Now you're not allowed to anchor it. So you have to hold it away from your chest a little bit. But the idea is that there's tons of different approaches to how to putt. So that's like almost like a game within a game, putting. Actually, it is a game within a game. So in any case, clearly your early training is why it didn't necessarily translate into a hole-in-one before this crescendo moment in your life where you finally got a hole-in-one at one of these, I'm guessing it was like a circus putt that had like the windmills and the stuff like that.
Yes, but they didn't have as much fun stuff as you would expect. Like it was a very plain Jane. The last hole was like a basketball hoop that you had to like shoot it up into a basketball hoop, and if you got in the hoop, you got a free game. Nick got that. But
oh, cool. Okay. Well, but bottom line is that you were excited because you obviously thought you were better than you were, but you were good relative.
You
were good relative to your own past.
Right.
you know,
I
but
did
you had a good
phenomenal.
day. You had a good day with the family, got out, had some fun,
Got a
did
nice
something that you
little
wouldn't
burn.
usually do.
Yep.
Yeah. I actually, I don't know if it's coming through, but I spent a bunch of time outside yesterday, as well. Tabby and I've been trying to flip flop my days a little bit where, well, I work like, I don't know, 12 to 14-hour days. I'm just in front of my computer, and I don't want the audience to get the wrong idea here. It's not that I have this amazing, crazy work ethic. I mean, I think I have a solid work ethic, but I mean, as a computer scientist, that's not just my job. It's like my hobby too. So I started programming when I was 9 years old, and this right now with agentic AI and stuff, we had a whole show on it. I'm having more fun with my computer now since I was like 9, 10, 11, 12.
Well,
So,
yeah, now with
it doesn't
AI, there's
necessarily
so much
feel like
more.
work. It doesn't necessarily
Right.
feel like work to me because but I sit there the whole day just doing it. Well, so then, I'm giving up daylight hours and Tabby's out gardening and stuff. So now I'm trying to flip flop my days where, I could take advantage of the nice weather and go out and hang out with her, even if we're just doing separate things. We were sitting outside yesterday and I was working because, like, as you know, I have my software that I built around my AI agents that runs on my laptops. My
Yep.
laptop has quite a bit of horsepower with in it. It's a big beefy laptop, but I've built an iPhone app that allows me to remote control my laptop. So it's not that the app lives on my iPhone and all the agentic AI is happening there. It's that my iPhone is mimicking my program that's on my computer. And I
Oh,
can do anything that I can do at my computer, I can do for my iPhone. And as the programmer of both of those tools, I can add features that are missing on the iPhone side. Like, oh, I want to be able to do this. I want to be able to do this. So it's this constant evolution, and now, since I use agentic AI also to do the builds and things like that for the iPhone, as long as I'm on the same Wi Fi network, I don't actually have to come back down. I can just, for instance, I did this morning. I needed there to be one more feature on the iPhone app to accomplish something that, has been something that was recently added to the agentic AI tools that I use as my back end, which is frankly all of them. But one of the tools had changed that I now needed like an extra button to fully take advantage of on the mobile phone. On the laptop, I already can do it. But so I prompted the team of agents that I have that are in charge of the project that is my mobile app for my iPhone to make this update and also deploy it to my iPhone. So I just basically sat there for a couple of minutes while they added this feature. Then I waited for the app to relaunch on my iPhone, and now magically I have the feature I wanted. So I could keep cooking with my laptop. I didn't have to come back down to my laptop. So I was able to sit outside. I was working with all my agents, the same thing I would do downstairs. And in some cases, it's even easier to work on it on my iPhone, except for
I was gonna
visually
ask
seeing some stuff.
I was gonna say, I feel like some things, like the mobile app version, is a lot crappier than the desktop version. So I figured that would make it harder to work from.
Yeah, well, it just depends. I mean, but since I have control over both versions, I can say, "Well, I want the iPhone version to function this way because it's a smaller screen or whatever." So a lot of the biggest issue I have is reading the small text.
Right.
So I'm actually looking at. Well, here's the rest of the story to tell you where I'm going with this. So while I'm sitting out there and it was nice and sunny yesterday, it wasn't that hot, but it was just a really pleasant day yesterday. I'm sure it was similar up by you, but maybe a couple degrees cooler, but well, who knows? But, it was in like the middle 70s or something yesterday. And we are sitting out there. It was really nice. We have a nice patio that we put in last year, big, like 1,200 square foot fenced in patio that Tabby designed and all this stuff. So we're sitting out there. I'm like thinking, you know what? We should get a pool. And, because they have these like above ground, pools that are like temporary setups for the year and stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to get something that you need the whole ladder system to get into. And I'm a pretty tall guy. So what we ended up getting is a 12-foot round, um, 30-inch deep pool. So it's deep enough to kind of you get in there. I can sit down, and like my head would probably be above the water, but I'd be underwater mostly. So it's deep enough to like if you're not swimming laps and stuff like that, or kids aren't diving into the pool, but it's probably deep enough for me. Plus, I could just step into that. I don't need a
See,
ladder system to get in.
at my old house, I put one of those on the deck, and it's got, like, the inflatable ring around the top or whatever, and it was just
hmm
deep enough for me to sit, and I could lay back against the ring, but I could also put a floaty in it, and then I would just lay in it and float and tan,
I
and
bought
that's
I bought a bunch of floaties. So
I didn't
so
wanna
I mean,
swim, I just wanted to float and tan and sit in it and
100
have a drink.
100%. Yeah, yeah, 100%. Exactly. That's the exact setup I'm talking about. So while I'm sitting there looking at the air, I got to get Tabby to help me measure some stuff, figure out what's the biggest we can do, like realistically.
Right.
We could, if we filled the entire patio, it's probably, I don't know, 30 feet one way, 20 feet the other way. But so we decided how far does it come out before it starts hitting where we currently have the grill and stuff like that. So, anyways, we got one that I think is like big enough to be useful, but not so big that it takes over the whole patio.
Right.
So that's coming today, and then we got like a solar top for it to keep the water warmer, and I got a bunch of different floaties things for it. I got like a floating basketball hoop. I got this floating table where you can play like, pool games and stuff on, but also it has cup holders. So it's like a good place that I can like toss my extra, my next drinks or like a cooler with some ice in it and stuff like that. And just have that thing
Yep.
floating around the pool. So when I need a refill, I just, mosey on over to my drinks and stuff. So
That's really
yeah,
smart.
so
I
I
just I'd throw my can of Mike's Hard Lemonade and let it float around in the pool, and then when I needed it, I'd just grab it and drink it.
Yeah, Mike, too much sugar. I mean, it's not that I don't like the taste. It's more just like
They have
after
the
one of those.
they have the 0 sugar kind. I just I'll drink beer, but beer's an acquired taste. Like, if you're
Oh, I
drinking
don't.
beer, you're at, like, an event or something. I'm not huge, like, I'd rather a Mike's Hard
Yeah,
Lemonade or a
yeah, I know
Carbless
what you
or
mean. Yeah, I might actually have to shift on this idea. And funny enough, now it's become a show on alcohol stuff. But don't drive drunk.
do
You
not
do
drive
this
drunk.
in your backyard. Blah blah blah. Um, but yeah, I know what you mean. I'm not a beer drinker. I can drink beer, but if there's anything that I actually like, it's probably wine. And that's,
Yeah.
you don't really do, well, I guess you could do like white wine during the
Yeah.
day. That's not, I mean, this might be, we might have solved the problem. Just
Yeah,
get
it's
some
like a
Chardonnay
spritzer.
and some ice kind of floating out there. But in any case, I'm also not really a heavy drinker outside of the
Neither.
cruises. On the cruises, I hit it pretty hard. But I would have my Coke Zeros or whatever, and this things that I would typically drink when I'm just kind of hanging out or whatever. If I have friends over and stuff, maybe we'd have beers and things like that. But I can drink it, but it doesn't do that much for me.
Yeah, I'm lame.
But
Well,
yeah, that
now that
is.
I'm older, hangovers last me like days, and I'm like, no, thank you. So I live off of coffee, and I just buy those little Mio Squirt things and have raspberry lemonade in my water all day. That's all I
Oh
drink.
yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, I do something similar. I have, I had gotten one of those soda streams
Yep, I love my Soda
to make
Stream.
your own sodas. But once I ran out of the CO2, it's like inconvenient to get more CO2.
It didn't used to be as difficult. You used to be able to get them at Walmart. Now you have to order it off Amazon.
Yeah, and I think I can actually buy them at Meyer. So when I'm saying difficult, I guess I'm more saying like it seems because of the form factor, like it's more expensive than it should be. Like I really want to be able to just go to a place and get the CO2 refilled
Yeah.
into the bottles that I already have. And there's probably I probably can get a machine to do it at home or something. I don't know. I haven't seriously looked into it, but I don't really use it as a soda stream anymore. But I use the bottles from it. So I keep the
Okay.
bottles in my little drink fridge. So I have a drink fridge that sits above our refrigerator.
Nah.
Yeah, I'm the only one who drinks out of it, so that kept us from having all my sodas taking up room in the fridge
Oh,
because
that
I can
makes
reach
sense.
up. I'm a tall guy, so that's like perfect height for me. So I put
And
in
you're
like,
putting it where Tabby couldn't get it even if she wanted some.
well, that's why I keep my sodas at the bottom. She doesn't drink sodas, but I do need her to be able to reach it so she can bring me sodas when I text her. So it's like, I have a very localized DoorDash
Right?
in
Buy
my
her a
house.
claw thing to she's over here with her claw trying to reach the sodas.
But I fill that up with either like Gatorade Zero, like the powder. I
Oh,
get
is
fill
that
it with
good?
water and then I put the powder. Yeah. Or I get Kool-Aid. There's zero like fruit punch Kool-Aid,
Ooh,
and that's really good. Actually, no, it's not Kool-Aid. Sorry, it's Hawaiian Punch.
okay.
Hawaiian
Oh,
Punch
yeah, yeah, I
Zero
know
is
which
what
ones
I
you're
put
talking
in
about.
there.
Yep,
But I fill the bottle up all the way with water, and then I put it in there. So technically, there's more water in it than is supposed to be for one of those packages. Or like the little things are supposed to be for like the 16-ounce water bottles.
yep.
So I'm probably putting it in, I'm guessing, I don't know, 30 ounces of water or something. So it's a little bit diluted, but it
I
still
do the same
tastes
th
similar.
I do the same
See?
exact thing.
See, it's why we get
Twins.
along.
I really like if you see them at the store, the Sonic Cherry Limeade is amazing. It's my favorite one.
Hmm?
Fun fact. So, if you see it.
And that's the Mios, the little Mio squirt
Nope,
things.
those are it's like in a box with packets.
And you said Sonic, like Sonic the restaurant
Mhm.
Sonic or Sonic the
Sonic the
Hedgehog?
restaurant, their cherry limeade. They
Okay.
have their ocean water that they're famous for too. That one's all right. I like it. I'm not huge on a coconut person, but it's a really good drink. But the cherry limeade is
Okay.
like the
Well,
best.
I will tell you what, I will try to get that. Well, I say I'll try to get that. I will let Tabby know to get that for me the next time she goes to. I think last time there was on a sale. She usually buys me stuff that's on sale too. So
They
that
sell them at the
that
Dollar General for only $1. So if you like sales, Dollar General has them for $1. And your
well,
Hawaiian Punch ones are only $1 per box.
I don't
So
know if Tabby goes there. I would suggest maybe we're not Dollar General people.
well, there's a Dollar
Yeah.
General on every corner where I am, so
No, I
that's
think we
why I
have
said.
one, right? That's kind of an elitist view. Actually, it's a kind of an interesting thing. Like in general, I don't view myself as an elitist. I most of my friends are not like super well off people. I'd find them to be more genuine, maybe. But then again, I think about some of my own behaviors. Like when you said Dollar General, I immediately look down at it.
Right, and
Same thing
which
when
is
when
crazy
they put
because
in Aldi. They put in Aldi over by like because near my house I have
yeah, I
a
don't.
Costco and a Target and a Home Depot and a Meijer. These are all like frankly walking distance from my house. And they put an Aldi over there, and I felt offended. Like, why would they put one of these places in my neighborhood?
The
You
funny
know,
thing is
it,
Dollar General, like maybe 10 items in the entire store are even $1. Everything is expensive. Like they're all
everything,
priced like a regular store.
inflation, and they're going to start using the Dollar Generals just like the old Big Mac index for inflation.
Yeah,
See, what's the
literally.
average price of an item in the dollar store? Well, it's 4.75.
Well,
That's
that
that's
dollar
the
store,
average price.
nothing's $1. Dollar Tree, everything used to be $1 and then they raised it to $1.25. And then
Right.
there's like premium items. But Dollar General is essentially just another
That
store. There's no
it's
dollar stuff.
premium items. So you've
So,
gone. So it works just like the 99-cent menu at all of the fast food joints. That now there might be one item on there that's still 99 cents. It's like
right. I
the
was
quarter
just
bag of French fries or something.
I was just talking about that the other day because we went to McDonald's and I was like, is there no dollar menu anymore? It was like buy a cheeseburger, get one for $1. I'm like, that's
They
what?
find ways to make it fit.
Right? Like that's not the
Buy
dollar
11
menu.
Big Macs, you get the 12th for $1.
Oh
So
God.
they're selling party packs in there where they're just
Right?
sneaking in the very last thing to
Yep.
technically meet the requirements of the dollar menu. That's pretty
Yep.
funny.
It's horrible.
Um, well, yeah. So, anyways, I'm sitting out there where you basically say, "Hey, well, how can I spend more time outside?" Tabby likes sitting outside in her swings and stuff, and I thought, "Hey, I can already use, kind of do a majority of my work during the day, and I might as well be out, you know, chilling in the sun." Plus, I even thought, hey, it would be kind of cool floating in that pool, like during like heavy rainstorms and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like times when I mean, I wouldn't go out there. Well, I might, but Tabby wouldn't let me go out there if it was like lightning and things like that. But
You're gonna
in
have to
any
send me a
case, I
picture when you get it.
well, it's supposed to come today. I think I should.
Now, did you
Um,
hire someone to put it together, or are you
no,
actually gonna do that?
Tabby and I are gonna do it. We're gonna do it together. I'm actually checking my app here to see, make sure everything's still coming today. So the pool's coming today. The cover's coming. Yeah, it's all coming today. Actually, looks like I may have ordered duplicates. Oh, luckily I didn't order duplicates of the pool. Um, that'd be funny. Get 3 pools that get shown. Um, yeah, so that'll be today's project, assuming the weather cooperates. What's the weather here supposed to be like today?
I don't know. It looks
Let me
cloudy by
see.
me.
Well, but you're 2 hours north of me, an hour and a half north of me.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's see. I don't check the
Oh,
weather anymore since I stopped playing golf. I used to check the water every day.
ooh, there's lots of rain. We have heavy rain on its way.
Well, there's a beach hazard. Surely that won't link to my
There's
pool. Oh, here, hourly. Let's see what hourly looks like. I got to watch an ad to get hourly? Man, they're even getting me on the, okay, here we go.
wow, that was
Um,
dumb. I just got booted from the connection because I was checking the weather on my phone. The second I disconnected Wi-Fi on my phone, all of a sudden my internet came back.
That's pretty ghetto.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, today looks like cloud cover, but it's in this, let's see, a little cool actually. It's in the lower ish 70s most of the day, then gets into the, well, I guess 60s later on. So it's
Well,
lower
yeah.
70s today.
Well,
That
yeah,
might be
with
okay.
we're getting
Cloud
heavy
cover.
rainstorms, so you're probably
Yeah.
getting like the side view of it.
Yeah, and we're getting a little rain, but kind of hit and miss. So most of the day, I think it's supposed to be cloudy. That actually will probably be a pretty decent day to put a pool together, so you're not just baking in the sun. Um,
Yeah, because you'd get a nice
so
little sunburn right up here.
yeah, so we have lunch, Tabby and I, with a couple of friends of ours from who are, I guess, indirect church friends. They go to the same denomination church as us, but a different church. And we met them through my golf club when I used to golf. They weren't golfers though; they were social members. But anyways, we're friends with them, and so we're meeting up. They're one of the few like couples that will meet up with that Tabby likes their, or gets along with the wife or whatever. Because Tabby's not really a people person, as you know.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, so we have that today at noon, and then the afternoon is putting the pool together.
that'll be
Uh,
fun.
so today's topic. Now that
22
we've
minutes later.
well, but I mean, you got to have icebreakers.
You
People got
do.
to get to know us.
Exactly.
Now they know that we. Well, I mean, obviously they both already knew that we have amazing beach bods. I'm
And I,
out there in I'm out there in my speedo floating on these Caribbean islands.
and I'm over here making hole-in-ones.
That's right, exactly. It is a little bit embarrassing though when I'm out there in my speedo and they're escorting me off the beach for I don't know indecent exposure or whatever. I don't know these people.
Oh, wow. It's a free show, guys. Don't
Yeah,
overreact.
people pay top dollar for this stuff sometimes.
Right?
Yeah. Actually, one thing I do at some of the private islands for because we rarely get off the ship when the cruise ships are at the ports, and I think at least a lot of the audience knows that my wife and I go on many cruises uh, per per year. She really likes looking at the balcony, and I want to make sure she can look out at the ocean from the balcony. And but now I'm going to start doing speaking gigs on technology topics, AI, and things like that on the cruise ship. So now I'm working while I'm on
Do they
the
give you
cruise
a
ships.
discount on the cruise for doing that or pay
Oh yeah,
you or
they
anything?
yeah. The way it works is, so I have an agent who books me on the cruises, and they give you. I mean, basically, you get the cruise is free. So they give you a room on the cruise ship. They say most of them it's at least an ocean view room. It'll probably be a balcony, but because a lot of the ships are like the ultra luxury line ships where every room has a balcony.
Okay. You can't
But
upgrade if you wanted to?
I think most of them, because you're technically working for the ship, you are technically a guest, but I don't think you have all of the perks of a guest where you can necessarily upgrade. But if you asked, can I give you some more money for a upgraded room, and they had one, they probably would do it. But what they do is they give you a room on the ship for free. And they fly me there for free to wherever I'm getting on. Cause a lot of these are like legs of a world cruise. So like I might get on in Fiji, for example, and then
Oh,
I get off in like Barcelona, Spain, or something like that, depending on how long I'm on for. I typically won't stay on longer than 15 to a maximum of 20 days because I have to play. Tabby goes with me. I have to play the game with, making sure she doesn't miss treatments, too many
right,
treatments, for
right.
her cancer. So, we there's some limitations there, but it's fine. So, if they want somebody who can stay on for a bunch of back to backs, then that might not be me. But they give you the cruise for free. They fly you there, just the speaker. So I would have to pay for the guest person to fly. Um, and so then and they fly you home as well. You do have to pay like these port fees that aren't part of what the cruise line, so basically the cruise line won't lose money on you. So basically maybe it's, since a lot of these are ultra luxury line things, maybe it's call it a $10,000 cruise that costs you $300, something like that, and that includes airfare.
So, because
Um,
you don't get the drink package included like you normally do, then you
but
just
sort of.
use Tabby's.
Well, no, because I mean, I would never buy her the drink package. She gets the room for free too.
Oh,
Yeah, so I'm allowed to bring a guest for free,
okay.
but they won't fly the guest
Got
to
it,
the
got
the
it.
cruise ship. They'll only pay for my airfare, but I can bring a guest with me for free onto the cruise, and then the cruise costs like the port fees,
Got
which
it.
is not part of what the cruise line is capturing. And then they have some perks on there for like their I know, I guess I'm a hybrid. So I'm part cruise worker, but I'm also a guest. So I'm mostly a guest, but with some, so they give me like some number of drinks per day for both me as well as the guests. So it might be 2 drinks a day per person. So maybe it's four. And then they also give you like a daily, like per diem, like a daily allotment
Okay.
that you could put towards whatever you want that they'll refund. Otherwise, you have a credit card on file and can get the whatever package uh, you wanted to pay for, or any extra drinks or something.
Got it. Okay.
They have rules along, they don't want you getting, trashed at a bar somewhere and stuff like that. So, even though I drink quite a bit of wine and stuff, I'm sitting there working on my laptop. So I'm not like the party guy who's dancing on the
Right.
bar or anything.
So when is your
Um,
first cruise?
I think sometime in October, but I'm waiting for final details. I think this one might be with Virgin Atlantic.
Don't you have
Um,
another cruise planned before then? I feel like there's another one coming up.
not before that's another debate. So we could do a cruise over the summer for free, um, uh, to like Alaska or something. But we have to weigh that whole thing of taking advantage of the Wisconsin summers, which are nice, and angling that towards, okay, well, do we, Alaska cruises go out of either Seattle or
I've heard that
usually,
I
go
heard
ahead.
that those are one of the best cruises. When I used to do nails, I
Yeah,
heard
the
that that was one.
Alaskan cruises themselves are pretty cool, especially if you like seeing, the scenery, like glaciers and stuff. Like Tabby, since we're on the boat all the time, you get a lot more scenery from the ship,
Right.
um, going to Alaska. So a lot of people like it for that. That's lost to me. I don't necessarily care what the environment out there looks like. I spend most of my time just kind of chilling
Indoors.
on the ship. So yeah, so really the cruises are more for Tabby, although I enjoy the cruise lifestyle. I'm just not a beach person,
Right.
or I don't really care about, you know, nature scenes and stuff. But yeah, a lot of people really like the Alaska cruises, the scenery, but the problem is flying in. So it's a lot of the cruises that I would maybe get onto for free are ones that go out of Canada. Um, one of the ports in Canada, even one's close to Seattle. The name is escaping me right now, but Victoria Island or something comes up. But whatever, it's the port about an hour north of Seattle in Canada. But it's difficult to get direct flights there. and the flights are very expensive. Um, everybody wants a deal, and I'm not like sitting here penny pinching necessarily, but I want a good deal. And when I can fly to Fort Lauderdale for a quarter of the cost
Right.
of flying to one of those airports, it's like seems stupid,
Yeah.
especially when I need a direct flight on the way there, because usually we like taking a direct flight at least to the cruise, so there's a low chance of them losing luggage. Coming
Right.
home, we typically want a direct flight more for just, hey, we don't want to spend all day in the airports. Let's just get home as quickly as possible. But really, we're less concerned about losing luggage coming home. Worst that happens, they lose it. They'll deliver it to our house 2 days later. Life will go on.
Right.
Um, but so if there's kind of an inconvenience with Alaskan cruises, and because we've done them before, maybe we're less willing to put up with the inconveniences.
Yeah, I suppose if
Um,
you've done it before, it's not like it's new and exciting. So,
Although Tabby wants to go back. I mean, she's a big fan of one of the, I guess, ports called Glacier Bay, which you really don't stop. You just stop in this giant, you don't get off the ship. You're in this big area that has glaciers in it and stuff. So you're
oh,
seeing, I don't know, history and things like that. Just kind
see,
of,
I think that would be fun, but my brain would Titanic all the way. I'd probably be panicking.
you're not, the Titanic was going full bore across the ocean and ran into some icebergs.
Yeah, but
Uh,
you don't know what's below that could be hitting the ship. You see what's in front of you, but it could be extended out further.
I would suggest we maybe have some better technologies on the planet now than they did during the Titanic age, where we got a pretty good idea of what that ship might run into. Not that accidents can't still happen, but our eyes on the stuff in our way is we don't need to be able to see out the windshield
I
really.
suppose if there's things that can see the fish down there, I suppose they could see the
Yeah, we got a lot of
icebergs.
technologies today, but hey, things can go dark. It's not without risk, but
Whoops!
yeah. You hear way more if you watch the news. You hear way more about like cruise ships, like their engines, like power going down or something like that. It's not like the ship crashed. It's more like the ship was just floating out there because they lost propulsion or something,
Right,
and their engineers have to spend a day working on it to get it going again, and then they get it back to the dock and they finish fixing it there or something. So it's more
right.
disasters like that.
Or disease outbreak, or wasn't there one where the sewage system ruined the
Oh yeah,
shit?
yeah.
Yeah,
There's
like stuff
there's
like
a
that.
Netflix thing on that, the poop
Yeah,
cruise.
yeah.
And even that is I mean that there are lessons learned from that. That was a class of ship from Carnival. That entire class of ship had a weakness with where kind of like the power plant for the ship was relative to like another point of failure, and
Oh,
those two being that close together kind of created a higher risk issue for plumbing issues or something like that.
okay.
So it was really a design flaw. That what made Carnival look bad in that scenario is it was a design flaw that they actually already knew about. And they kind of tried to not really ignore, but rather than fix it, duct
Duct
tape it.
tape it. Ah,
Yeah, that kind
jinx!
of thing. That
Jinx!
kind of thing. Right. Um,
Look at us
yeah.
finishing
So
each other's sentences.
but that can happen on any cruise line. All these ships
Yeah,
are very similar in the way they're constructed. Really, the difference is I mean, it's very similar to like homes. It's the interior and the finishings. The physical ships themselves are all made out of steel. They all are using very similar, plumbing capabilities. They all have saltwater desalination plants on them. I mean, these are floating cities at this point.
right.
But the difference is like, I can walk into one of the public bathrooms on any cruise ship and basically tell you which tier of cruise line you're on based on, I mean, you'd be just starting with if it has paper towels, you're on one tier. If it has cloth towels, you're on another tier. If it has a person in there, cleaning up after each individual person, and there's cloth towels. You're at another tier above that.
Do they
You know,
actually differentiate? Do they have, like, obviously 1 ply, 2 ply, like, nicer toilet paper? And because some places
it's
stick with the 1 ply, and that's just horrible.
that's that's actually a interesting question that continues to pull us away from the
Okay.
topic. No, but
What
it's
what is
okay.
the
It's
topic today?
I don't even know yet, to be honest. It's already left me. But so I am not fully qualified to answer the question you just asked
You are correct. I didn't even think of that.
because
He is the bidet king.
I am a bidet user and have been for years. I have, and not even like the super fancy ones. These are my main. Yeah, we should make a partnership
You have a
with
squirt bottle bidet.
no, no, no. That's from years ago. You're now so at home. I use the Lux Bidet Neo 180. It's like
I know because
$45 or something.
yeah, because you made me get the same one.
And then for travel, though, I always, I iterate over, when they come out with better motors and stuff, because, they have these things there, it's smaller, it's probably similar height to like a coffee mug, but it's not as thick. It's probably half the diameter or something. And it's in two pieces. So it closes together. But when you open it, the top ends up being the water bottle part of it, and you screw it onto it. So you fill that up, you screw it onto it, then it has like a wand that attaches, and it's battery powered, or it's, well, I guess they're always battery powered. Some of them are USB rechargeable, the ones just run off of like AA or AAA batteries. And that ends up giving you an amount of water that you can then use on a kind of a single trip situation or something like that. So my knowledge of toilet paper is extremely limited, but Tabby does not partake in the bidet culture, and I do hear her complaining about the toilet paper. So,
Okay, so
and we
that's probably
typically
1
are
ply.
on, yeah, we typically are on the higher tier lines. So I think this is a problem. And this so this
So it's
actually
actually
reminds me.
go ahead.
Well, this reminds me of a funny story from my mom. uh from my parents are retired, and they've gone on the world cruise with a couple different cruise lines over the last several years. And so they've gone with Viking and they've gone with Princess. So Viking would be the upper scale cruise line. And apparently on the cruise they went on, I think it was their previous, excuse me, their previous Viking one. They were getting a couple of different versions of toilet paper. I don't know if they replaced some on the islands you went to or something like that, or they just kind of had like a hodgepodge of different toilet papers around the ship.
Right.
And my mom had found one that she liked, but then she found several that she didn't like. So when the kind that she didn't like was stocked in the room, as my mom does, she complained. So she had their room stewards like scouring the ship for this toilet paper, looking for it. And my mom would go into public restrooms, and if she found the toilet paper installed in a public restroom, she'd
She'd
smuggle it
take it.
into the room.
That is
She, and
hilarious.
she tells me the story of like their room steward after she complained so many times that, this room steward would bring her toilet paper and like unroll it and hold it out to her, like presenting it as, is this to madam's
Oh my god.
specifications?
That is so funny. No,
Oh
the
my
reason
gosh.
I brought it, I even thought of it. So there's an ongoing joke between me and my friend that I used to live with one of my friends while I was going through my breast cancer stuff. And when I was in kind of more of my dating stage and going on dates and stuff, almost every time I would go to someone's house, these guys had 1 ply toilet paper. It was like every time. Why is everyone using 1 ply toilet paper? It made no sense. So then when I found a guy that used 2 ply, it was like, okay, he's got to be a winner. And it became an ongoing joke.
He became 25% hotter because of his toilet paper.
Yes.
That
It
sounds
was.
like something from the old show Seinfeld,
Oh,
where I think there was a oh, a story arc one of the seasons with there used to be a type of birth control, I think, called the Today Sponge,
Oh.
and apparently the Today Sponge got discontinued. And Elaine in the show, she went around basically hoarding. I guess she swore by the Today Sponge, and she went around finding it any place that still had it and buying them out. So she had this giant collection of Today's sponges before that she could no longer buy them anymore.
Yep.
So whenever she went on a date, or was going to hook up with a guy, she had to go through the problem solving process of whether he was sponge worthy.
Ah! If he was worth wasting one of her sponges on, that is
Yeah,
great.
exactly. Yeah, so that kind of is a similar type thing.
That is
Um,
hilarious.
but yeah, so I mean, on cruise lines, you're still on a ship, so there are. I mean, but nowadays, I would say the living experience on a cruise line largely is elevated compared to what people would have at home across the board,
Except the toilet
minus a
paper.
couple of things like that. So, because one thing you have to consider with the toilet paper is, one of the major points of failure that can happen on a cruise ship. We've never had it happen, and we've been on a zillion cruises, but
Oh,
you know,
clogging.
is the plumbing system in it. So they're very careful about like, hey, what can you throw down the toilet, and stuff like that. So I bet you that the single ply or the I don't know, the lesser two
It's
ply, I don't know,
practically disintegrates in your hands before you even use it. So, yeah,
something
that
like
makes
that. I,
sense.
I don't know if it's quite that bad, but I mean, I think the idea is that they probably err on the side of it won't clog the system
That makes
versus
sense.
the human comfort side of it would be my guess.
That makes
Um,
sense.
because the toilets are all, you got to shut the lid and then push the button, and it's like crazy suction that pulls it, that pulls everything down. So you
Okay.
rarely you'll get a clog in the toilet, but you don't know what's happening in the plumbing after it or
Right.
something. So, but outside of that, you're getting fairly, luxurious finishings and fancy bars everywhere and stuff like that. It's supposed to give you the upscale experience on most cruise
Right.
ships, even on budget lines. Like if you go on like MSC, for example, which is an Italian cruise line. MSC is probably the most accessible cruise line across multiple uh, economic economic stations in life, I guess. You can get on an MSC ship for very cheaply compared to a lot of other cruise lines if you get an
Okay.
inside room or something like that. And I'd make the argument that's good enough, because once you're on the ship, you have access to the identical amenities
Well,
as the
yeah, for
people who
me,
have paid.
I don't care to be in my room. Like if I'm on vacation, the last thing I want to do is be in my room.
Mhm. Well, and it's not just that. I mean, you have access to the same amenities across the entire ship as the people who paid $25,000 for a 1 week cruise in one of their suites. Now, maybe they have access to like a private dining room when you are, in the public dining rooms, but you're probably operating off either the same menus or very close to the same menus until you get to the upper tiers, whatever. Maybe the people who spent more have like an unlimited dining package in the specialty restaurants where you can go to them and pay per visit or something, or you can buy a package that gives you, 2 to 3 visits to the specialty restaurants. But bottom line is you have access to the same stuff largely as the people who pay top dollar for the cruise. You just don't have as large of a room. You don't maybe have a balcony or whatever. The extra little things that really are not requirements. So my argument would be get onto the cruise line as cheaply as possible, and initially certainly, and then figure out what things are actually important to you on a cruise line, and then decide, okay, is that worth paying for up front? Or is that worth paying for once I get on the ship? If the amount it costs to pay for it once you're on the ship is equal to or around the same or more sometimes than it is to buy it beforehand, and you could buy it beforehand and it happens to come with a balcony, well, then you say, "Oh, well, I'm gonna get a balcony room now since it comes with these things I was gonna buy anyways." So you figure out where you fit into the cruise line for what things are important to you as opposed to what am I paying for?
You
You know,
sound
if a
like a
room comes with free
salesperson.
laundry, well, but I mean, I've been on a lot of cruises,
Well, now
and I
you
also
have to
have
make how can you fit Jesus into this cruise promotion podcast?
it's a tough one. I mean, we could maybe do something like do the podcast or something from a cruise line at some point. But in terms
That
of
would be
getting a
fun.
speaking gig or something on cruise
No, I
lines,
mean we have
that's tough.
15 no, I mean we have 15 minutes left. How can you insert Jesus into the podcast that we just filmed about cruises?
Oh, okay. Well, so we can do that. Let's spin it. So now let's think about one of the things we're asked to do in the Bible is to be good stewards of resources. Um, we're not supposed to show off money. We're not supposed to be greedy. We're supposed to be generous givers. Help those who have less than us and things like that. So one question we have to ask is where do vacations fit into this this dynamic? Now, you know you have this idea of a vacation, but then you have maybe people like us who it's not really even a vacation anymore. I mean, we've gotten to the point where we look at cruises as, oh, this is just kind of like a way of life. We don't the cruises have become somewhat boring, but it gets us out of the cold weather and stuff like that, because it's not new to us anymore. So at what point are we spending resources that we could be spending on helping people or doing something else with, as opposed to kind of being greedy and spending it on ourselves to go and have this time that other people, you have people around the world who can't feed themselves or who are really struggling that need other people to help them, and yet you have folks like me who are going on 6 cruises a year, using up a lot of natural resources with every single flight, et cetera, yada yada yada. So
I'd like
I mean,
to intercept
go ahead,
here because you can't
go
put
ahead.
yourself in that category. You have a wife with a fatal condition, and cruises is
Fair.
something that makes her happy. And like end of life, you want to give her the best time that she has left. So yours
Sure.
is a little different.
I'm still using myself as an example, but to be fair to that narrative, we didn't do 6 to 8 cruises a year back then, but we probably did 2 or 3
Okay.
back then before she was diagnosed. So I mean, we're not completely out of the
Right.
we're not
But give
completely
yourself a little credit.
no, but this is more of the bigger concept, other that, not just it's not just a me thing, it's also just, when people are spending money for things that are above what
Right.
survival
Right.
requires. At some point we can say, well, although I do have the mentality, to be honest, of that when you go away to something like that, it makes you actually appreciate home. So even though you're going away and this fancy vacation and all this stuff, you have the smaller room. It's not your bed. It's not all these things. And yeah, you were looking forward to getting away for the weeks leading up to the time. But when you're on a cruise, so usually we're on cruises for about our average cruise is probably about a 2 week cruise. It's probably on average. Sometimes that's 2 7-day cruises back to back, or sometimes it's just a single 10 to 14-day cruise, whatever it is. But, right around day between 10 and 12, you start missing home and you miss the things you had at home. So I'm kind of convinced that one of the purposes of a vacation is not necessarily to get away, but it's to appreciate what you already have.
Right.
Because you have your stuff at home, regardless of what your state of life is. Well, maybe not regardless. I'm sure there's a point where you are at such a low level that your stuff is nothing special to even you. But just in general, I think, we all have our comforts of home, whether we've had to make it our comfort or whatever, it's still our comforts at home. Are we being good stewards? Well, I would make the argument that okay, getting away makes you appreciate what you have, which I think also would be biblical. Is not
Right.
necessarily to constantly look out and be jealous of what others have. That would be a kind of a sinful position to be in. But at the same time, you have to put that up against the number of people. So let's assume that the average, 7-day cruise costs, once you throw in the flights and everything like that, even with an inside room, the cheapest level room, you're probably looking at $3,000. Let's just say $3,000 gets a family of two away to a cruise that is a flight away inside of a one of the lower tier, but still a nice room. Um, well, so that's $3,000 $3,000 can help a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
So is that $3,000, are you being a good steward of your resources? And the idea would be is that that money came from us utilizing our God-given gifts to earn money, So I'm a teacher, and so I've made my money off, you know, either teaching or the skills that I've developed from being trained to be a teacher or whatever it is. Oh, Megan dropped off again, but I'll just keep cooking. There she's back. But in any case, so the idea is that we have these skills that have allowed us to earn these resources like dollars, and then we get to decide what do you spend those dollars on. And Tabby struggles with this because she comes from a family that isn't as well off. I come from a more of a my dad was a retired dentist, so we were reasonably well off. My parents aren't flamboyant rich people. They live in a nice neighborhood, but they live in a condo. They share a wall with somebody and things like that. They drive. It was the joke. I think my dad drives a Subaru.
Yeah.
He just got a new one actually. But in any case, you wouldn't see them and immediately think, oh, filthy rich people, whatever. But the point is, I come from a more affluent family than my wife does, and she feels guilty when we go away and she's telling her sister about it or telling her mom about it because they're like, oh, well, do you know what that kind of money would do for our life if you just handed it to us instead of, got away for a week or two?
Right.
So it makes it, she struggles with that, struggles with guilt, having someone to tell to about it. And I appreciate the point you said earlier where it's like, okay, well, Tabby doesn't ask for 6 to 8 cruises a year. I want to give her that so she, has as much quality of life as she possibly can have and look at see the ocean because that's what she enjoys. And it allows
Mhm.
her to, while she's still able to travel, um,
Right.
continue doing this stuff. And so far we've been very lucky. We even just so she has her next scan this Thursday. Every 3 months they have a scan, but she we just got they so for the audience, my wife has stage 4 bladder cancer, and they gave her 2 years to live almost 4 years ago now. And she's still kicking, still doing well, and she has chemo every week. But they do this blood test called Signatera that looks for, my understanding is it looks for tumor DNA in the blood.
Okay.
And our experience has been is, initially, that was off the charts, what her numbers for that and stuff. Well, now it's been zero for a while. And there was one period of time about a year ago when she had missed too many treatments because she was having some skin reactions to the treatment she was on, where the number creeped up a little bit. It was still relatively low, but that sent us the message that she still needs that chemo every single week. Otherwise, this thing's going to grow out of control.
So now
But
my
her
question is, if she kept staying on, if like she kept on chemo and keeping those levels down and whatever, like how much longer, like obviously they said 2 years and she lived 4, like could she just keep doing what she's doing and live for more?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, at this point, her system, the medicine she's on is keeping the cancer at bay. So it's holding it where it needs to be self-contained in order for her to be relatively healthy. She still has the side effects from the chemotherapy. So, it has some brain fog type stuff and some memory things. But the bigger issue is the side effects of of the medicine. Like, she gets some rashes and stuff. So when she first went on the medicine she's on now, which is called Padcev, it's a targeted chemotherapy for bladder cancer. She had a major skin reaction to it the very first treatment she had, to the point where they had to instantly take her off of it and get her into dermatology and all that stuff. And then once took her like 2 weeks to recover from that. Well,
Jesus.
once they did that, then they lowered the dose and put her right back on the same drug. It's like, that's nervous, but apparently that's pretty common, is you have
Okay.
an initial reaction. But and then she went back on it and she tolerated it well enough, right? So it was um she had a little bit of a skin reaction, but it wasn't beyond tolerating. And then she was on that for a while. Then she started getting skin reactions that were becoming a little bit more problematic. So they lowered the dose again. I think right now she's on basically the lowest dose she can be on with that medicine, but she's tolerating it pretty well. We're on kind of like the cycle where she does it 3 weeks in a row, then 1 week off. Well, right around that third week, she starts having a little bit of a skin reaction, but that pretty much solves itself over her week off. So we're in a
Okay.
decent place now, but eventually that medicine might stop working, or the consequences of taking the medicine is worse than the consequences of not being on the medicine, or something like that. So, but there's another drug that's come along that she can try after that. In fact, the current drug she's on, and this kind of goes to your question about, you know, how long can she keep kicking? The current drug she is on is a drug that was in clinical trial when she was first diagnosed. So it was not a drug they were commonly using for bladder cancer. So when they gave those statistics, like, hey, statistically, you have about 2 years to live, they're operating off of, first of all, statistics that are largely made up of old men. Bladder cancer, one of the main uh, things for bladder cancer, the main things that cause bladder cancer is smoking. And she grew up in a household where there was heavy secondhand smoke. Her dad smoked a lot of packs of cigarettes, and he died very young at like 50 from heart issues, probably from side effects from smoking, blah blah blah. But regardless, there seems to be a pretty high chance that that had a lot to do with her having bladder cancer. Well, so first of all, the statistics were not coming off of a 45-year-old woman as a starting point. That's when she was originally diagnosed, as she was 45, and female is probably usually 65-year-old men. So you got to
Mhm.
assume the statistics are skewed, and then on top of that, it wasn't taking into consideration some of these newer drugs. So for all we know, in 25 years, we're still going to be talking, about Tabby and what she's done this week and all
She's
sorts of
gonna
stuff.
outlive me.
It's very possible at this point in time. We just don't know. Modern
Mhm.
medicine is fascinating, and even twisting it back into my world right now. And this is kind of an exciting thing, and something we haven't covered on the show is the major breakthroughs we've had very recently, and this actually does pull God back into this, very recently, with quantum computing. So one of my research areas is quantum computing. My two current research areas is AI and quantum computing. And quantum computing is actually where I see God the most, because we're really looking at, I like to think of it as God's Legos. We're seeing how the fabric of the universe is actually put together. Um, and if for those of the viewers who were fans of the movie Oppenheimer, did you happen to see Oppenheimer, Megan?
No.
The movie? Okay,
Nope.
so the movie Oppenheimer is like almost a 3-hour movie, but totally worth seeing. Really well done. It's a movie, but it's a documentary style movie on the Manhattan Project, where we created the bomb to bomb Hiroshima and Nagasaki. but it's the backstory of the scientists who created that and all sorts of stuff. And really a fascinating way to just see how history unfolded, and that there was a moment in time, and this is related to what I'm talking about, where when they were about to test in the New Mexico desert, when they were about to test the bomb before they released it to Truman to go and use it on the Japanese. When they first were testing the bomb, there was a chance that bomb was going to ignite the atmosphere of the planet and burn up all of our oxygen,
Holy cow.
and the world would end. So when they were running that test, they thought there was a outside shot that the world was going to end during that test. Yet they
Wow.
still did it. I mean, so, and the thing is, and a famous quote from Oppenheimer that comes out in the movie is, actually, I don't want to miss that. It's possible Oppenheimer, I don't know that it's officially a quote of his, but I think it is. And it was repeated in the movie, and it's at least accurate. Is what, when the general asked him, well, you're saying we might end the world. He says, well, what do you expect from theory alone? So we've had the mathematics and the theory around quantum mechanics for a long, long, long time, but not until shortly, we see from this movie, did they first test some of their theories in practice through an application to see how well do their theories line up to reality.
Right.
Now, lucky the atmosphere didn't explode. Well, but the same thing's true in the world right now, where with quantum computing, we now have a computer, and it's not as stable as it's eventually going to be. But what's happened in the last couple of months is it's now stable enough to solve certain quantum problems. And I'll mention that here in a second. But the point is that now we have these quantum computers that allow us to do experiments with the theory of quantum mechanics. So now
Okay.
we can bring theory into practice by using a computer system to actually write programs that leverage quantum mechanics to solve real problems. And so now we're turning theory into practice. And the theory of quantum mechanics is the idea of how does the fabric of the universe actually function? I would argue that this is how God built the universe as much as he's allowed us to see. Because years and years ago, we thought the smallest thing was an atom. We were positive about it as a society, as humans. Well, then we determined, you know what? There are things that are smaller than atoms, subatomic particles, electrons, protons, neutrons, things that most of the audience probably learned about in school. Um, these exist. Well, now there's even particles that are smaller than those. Some of our viewers maybe have heard of something called the Large Hadron Collider.
Now you
And
have my brain on, like, my ADHD is like trying so hard to focus on what you're talking about, but yet I'm like, so what am I gonna make for dinner?
well, not all of our viewers are going to be as ditzy as you, though, Megan. But we do, and these things have been on TV. I'm sure at some point you've heard of something called the Large Hadron Collider. There's been documentaries of, like, how these things work, and they make them sound like they're all, super special high tech stuff when it's actually 2-year-old, like, I mean, 2-year-old children based science. So what a Large Hadron Collider does is it takes two subatomic particles. Let's say like, electrons or something, and it gets them going in different directions and gets them going as fast as possible, and then creates a scenario where they slam together, and they have cameras and different measuring devices to measure all the crap that came out from them being bashed together to see if they can find subatomic particles. Think what's inside of electron, what's inside of a quark. You've probably even heard of some of the
A
things like the
quark?
Higgs boson. I'm sure you've heard that phrase before.
Are you
Higgs
speaking
boson.
English?
I am. It's been on the news at some point. Many of our viewers have at least heard the phrase Higgs boson,
What's
even
a
if they have,
quark?
well, plenty of them are going to know what quarks are. Put in the comments if you know more about this than Megan. And I'm not even arguing, do you know what these things are? Just have you heard of them? You know,
Don't you need to be at lunch?
the Higgs boson is something, not quite yet. The Higgs boson is something that we theoretically thought existed. But until we've smashed enough things together, did we actually find it? And then we're looking for other things that in theory exist. And now we're looking for it in practice. But the funny part about this is the way that we are solving the world's hardest problems right now is, to put it in your terms that you'll understand, Megan, is I'm going to take two rocks and I'm going to smash these rocks together really, really, really hard and watch what comes out from the pieces. That's how our best scientists are finding the how the world is built today.
There we
And
go.
now we have quantum computers that allow us to use some of those things, subatomic particles, to solve real problems. Um, and the point of this whole little mini discussion comes down to drug discovery. In the last couple of months, we have gotten quantum technology stable enough that some of our cloud computing platforms like Amazon and things like that are now offering endpoints where you can say, hey, I have a normal computer program that's cooking along here. And now I've gotten to this one little part where I need this little part solved by something that's quantum, because it's something that's impossible to solve with normal computing technology, because there's not enough memory on the planet Earth to solve that problem with what humans have been able to create. But a quantum computer has that single little magic trick. Again, to put it in your terms, Megan, you're playing Mario Kart with the kids and you hit one of those little power ups to make
Yep.
your guy go faster or shoot bullets and whatever, right? You get the power ups. So now what's happening is our normal computer programs that we've been writing forever have now gotten to, there's a wall that we used to hit over and over again. We couldn't get past that wall because we didn't have the technology on the planet to solve that problem. But now with this one little power up, we can actually solve that one tiny little problem, get our answer real quick, which then lets us go back to normal computer programs until we need that one little problem solved again. And that one little problem that we now have the ability to solve is when we are modeling. And trust me, this is going to a good place and it's not going all off the radar. Trust me. Just bear
The
with me,
whole
Megan.
podcast is off the radar.
Just
And you know
bear
what's
with
even
me.
funnier?
This is
How
important. I'm telling you, this is
No,
important.
I
Go
know,
ahead.
and I'm gonna let you say it, but
All right, go
the
ahead.
funniest thing is we totally never got to today's topic because we are so off the rails, and yet we're still over time. Continue.
Oh,
Hilarious.
wow. Well, we're not over time yet because I have all the ums,
Yep,
remember?
you have all the yums.
So in any case, um, and this comes back to drug discovery and clinical trials for, in Tabby's case, cancer trials. So when you have a normal clinical trial for a drug, what that usually starts off with is some scientists have found some evidence that a certain molecule or a certain collection of molecules might have some um, uh, benefit towards a certain disease.
Okay.
And then they try to sell that idea to whoever's going to fund their clinical trial, usually one of these big pharmaceutical companies, Pfizer, whatever, or maybe it's a hospital group. Somebody with zillions of dollars is funding these trials. And then they go and they do the experiment. Well, historically, the way this would have worked is human beings would spend 5 to 10 years running experiment after experiment after experiment, testing different permutations of these molecules just to see, does it have a positive effect on, let's say, a certain cancer cell. So that takes years and years and years. And most of the time, almost all the time, in fact, sometimes all of the time, they get failure after failure after failure. Now, we have no guarantee that every disease has a cure. We don't know. But if we're chasing the cure for every disease, what quantum computing right now lets us do is it lets us test let's assume that in a normal clinical trial, they have to test a million different permutations of a molecule to find the 10 that have the most promise. Let's just use that as an example. Now, testing those millions of permutations, or even if it's a million permutations, takes a whole lot of people, a lot of time. So, multiple years, many years with a lot of people. That's a lot of money to pay each of those researchers. Each of these researchers are highly skilled, highly qualified people. You're dumping all this money, and a majority of their time, if not all of their time, they fail.
See, personally, I think there is a cure for cancer, or I think they know there's a cure for cancer out there, but
Mm-mm.
cancer makes too much money
I
for big
I don't
pharma.
think I would not buy into that conspiracy, but I don't think it's necessarily completely on dead ears. It would not shock me to know that there are things on this planet that we probably could have a improvement on as users, but that the ultra rich are making too much money off the alternative. I think
Because
that seems to be something human beings would be greedy enough
I
to
feel
do.
like
Is
with today's technology and quantum computing and all, as far as we've come, I mean, they've built robots that ice skate, but they can't cure cancer. I don't know.
mm,
This is
we could
Megan the
probably
skeptic on this one.
go down that for a
A
couple
whole
of hours.
episode.
I would suggest that you're likely wrong. Um, uh, I wouldn't put, if we're going to try to extract the truth out of it, I wouldn't put much past humans. I think humans are very greedy. We're obviously very sinful. And if there's humans who are making a bunch of money off something, it is not in their best interest to release something that would allow them to make less money on that.
Right.
So if we just abstract your comment to that, that's perfectly reasonable. Humans can be real jerks. And if they're making a bunch of money off something, it's not in their best interest to make that go away.
Right. And
It would
that's what I think.
surprise me. It would surprise me that something as big as cancer research, where you have so many people who are seemingly on the other side of it, people who are not making zillions of dollars off of it, but people who are trying to find cures and things like that for it. It would really surprise me if that many people weren't able to start getting the word out that there really is a cure for cancer XYZ or something like that. It might be
Well,
one of those
look what
secrets
happened
that's
to
hard to
that.
keep.
Well, look at that Snowden guy. He came out with secrets and everybody attacked him. He had to run for the hills. Maybe
Well,
they're
right,
making people.
but that's abstracting secrets to be saying all secrets are created equal. There is a difference between, a government laundering money over something or making secret deals with another government versus solving a medical condition that attacks every single person or potentially every single person on the entire planet, regardless of what country you're from.
That's
Some
true.
problems, some problems are kind of maybe, I guess, in my view, bigger than can kind of be contained by a government. Not
Yeah.
everything is solvable by conspiracy and things like that. But
Okay,
regardless,
I'll give
yeah.
up on that theory.
Well, but I don't think it's necessarily blanketly wrong because really, if you just pull out the truth from your theory, the truth is that we wouldn't put a whole lot past human beings
Right.
to cover up something that they're capable of covering up to
Right.
make money. I think that's a true statement. I would just suggest maybe cancer stuff might be too big to cover up, where we see cover ups all the time. And, there's plenty of things that aren't too big to cover up and we wouldn't
Right.
put past people. But we don't have full quantum at this point to solve some problems, but we kind of lucked out. Is that this one little power up from quantum, the Mario Kart power up to make you go faster or whatever. This one power up is now usable, and it's for calculating. I'll scare you real quick, but I won't go down the path. It's calculating something called eigenvalues. But regardless of that, when we model, if I'm writing a computer program to try to pretend to be a water molecule, H2O, our modern computers can do that. Based on the observations we've made in real life of water molecules, we can create a visual simulation of what a water molecule might look like if we were to view one under the microscope for 20 minutes or something. But it's a simulation based on what we have seen before. And part of what it takes to do that, you would see things like orbiting and stuff like that. If you actually looked at that, you see electrons orbiting a nucleus and all stuff from chemistry and biology that most of us have forgotten from high school or whatever. But calculating the actual location of an electron during a live simulation on any sort of molecule of size, H2O is pretty small. Most of the molecules that are solving major, like that might cure cancer are going to be much more complex molecules than that. And we do not have the computing power on the planet Earth or the memory on the planet Earth to even simulate those. Yet with this power up now, we can say, okay, we're going to put all this stuff on the screen. We're going to put on this stuff at the screen. We're ready for the very next iteration of our simulation to show where has the electron moved from the last time to the next time. And now with quantum, we can say, okay, tell me where the electron is. We pass it off to the power boost. The power boost goes and does that really quick. Remember, the thing it's doing is something that is impossible to be done with modern computers because we do not have enough computing power or memory available to the human race on the planet Earth. It does not exist.
Got it.
Yet we can now pass this off to a little quantum piece that solves that one tiny problem for us fast. And more importantly than fast, it's possible to solve it. And it gives us the answer back. And then we take that answer, we put it back into our normal simulation. Because the hard part was getting that one tiny answer for our simulation, not the rest of the simulation. So now we can actually model real molecules of size using nature to model nature, is what quantum is.
Got it.
And what does that let us do? So the punchline of all this, and I know we're getting close to being pretty over, but the punchline to all of this is that now, instead of having human beings having to go through a million permutations of a molecule, we can have a quantum assisted computer program go through those million permutations and drag it down to, let's just say, the 20 of those that have the most promise for being a cure. Now you hand those 20 over to the humans to do those experiments on those 20, getting you to the potential cure or the potential benefit way, way, way faster and way, way, way cheaper than we could before. Because you now no longer need that many people for that long a period of time because you're dealing with a far smaller problem that the humans actually have to solve. That's what quantum does for us today. So what you're
Got
going to
it.
see in the next 1 to 3 years, and this is kind of a big deal for our viewers, and this kind of goes into my professional background. I am a professional. I am more of a professional at this than I am at Christian theology and stuff like that. This is my hobby, this stuff, and I'm sharing it with you. But trust me, this is my research area. I have a PhD in this stuff, and I have 26 years of experience. You are going to see more innovation on the planet in the next 1 to 3 years than we've seen in the whole history of the world. And I don't say that lightly, but it's also what I believe to be 100% true. And
I'm
it's going to
excited.
start
I
with
like
things.
change.
It's going to start with things like these drug discoveries. This is going to change the way human health works. Take it beyond cancer and think about all these other things that might have cures for, or at least helps for. It might not be a cure, but it might let us, last a little longer, something like that. Between agentic AI and, as you pointed out earlier, humanoid robots, and now quantum assist for today, and possibly that quantum assist getting more and more powerful, the world is about to change drastically, well beyond what we've seen the world change in the past with wars and things like that. I
Well, they've
know that,
already started. Look at like the semaglutides, GLP-1s, or whatever it's called. Like that has already started to fix a lot of obesity. Like people,
but those were things that
that were
humans solved on their own with normal
right.
classical computers.
Right. But
Even
I'm
those
saying,
things are going to look old fashioned in the next 1 to 3 years.
well, that's exciting. You have to leave. I just heard your alarm. Uh-oh.
Yep, I did. So I'm sorry, but we did cover, I think maybe human greed and good resources, being a good steward of resources and try to treat the people around us with the same respect that we wanted to be treated. Jesus
Yes.
said the two most important, and I'm paraphrasing, but the two most important commandments were, love thy God with all your heart and love thy neighbor as if as you would want to be loved. So if we can handle those two things and point to God for everything, because we can't handle this alone, we're not good enough alone, but also think about our neighbors and say, you know what? They have strengths. I have strengths. I should help them with my strengths. I would hope they would help me with their strengths. We're all in this together. Maybe think about the people around us a little bit more than most of us, including myself, do, because there's a lot of people that some of our God given gifts can give help to. And we just have to open our hearts a little bit to say, who can I help today with the gifts that God has given me in my life? So I think that's a good place to end. What do you think?
I think that's a great place to end.
All right. Well, until next week, I am Mike Littman, the Quantum Disciple, and this is my partner in crime, Megan. I guess, what do you say? Toodaloo? Is that what you say?
Toodaloo.
All right. Toodaloo. Like, subscribe, all that jazz. Yeah, whatever.
Thank-
All right.
Thanks, guys. Hit that like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Take care.
Thanks for watching.
Keep using your gifts for good.
And if quantum computers cure broccoli, call me first. That's not how it works.
See you next time.